we're very excited about this next performer. He's a great writer. You got to check out his YouTube, his TikTok. I mean, now more than ever, we need to figure out, we need good information, and we need the sharpest, the best, and the brightest. He's in costume. Dave Malinsky, everybody. Give it up for Dave Malinsky.
Always a pleasure, Matt. Matt is also amazing. Are you still doing those live streams?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, since I was following a classic scholar, let me just do a little ditty. Those heroes of antiquity ne'er saw a cannonball, nor felt the force of powder to blow their foe withal. But we brave men do know it, and something all our fears will row toe-to-toe to the British Grenadiers. So that's what that is. See, it all fits together. But I got another one for you. In Britain once, it stains the historic page, freedom was vital struck by party rage. Cromwell the fever watched, the night supplied, she maddened, and by suicide she died. Amidst her groans sank every liberal art that polished life and humanized the heart. Then fell the stage, quelled by the bigot's roar. Truth fled with sense, and Shakespeare charmed no more. To quell the times too much resembling those, and lull the care-tired thought, this stage arose. Say then, ya bustin' prudes, if prudes there are, is this not a task unworthy of the fair? Shall foreign decorum and piety refuse a call to beauty to conduct the muse? Perish the thought, the slanderous tongue. When the heart's right, the action can't be wrong. Okay, Dave, well, what did you just do? What was that? Because it's all based in history. So when one of the first acts of the first Continental Congress, not the second one, that's the famous one, but the first one, they passed, called the Articles of Association in 1774. And Article 8 banned theater in America. The ending shows, plays, and other expensive diversions and entertainments. Now, why would these gods of freedom do this? You know, I mean, they're gods of freedom, you know, against the most evil state ever. I mean, that's what the 1776 Commission says, right? If any guys have read the 1776 Commission. But we have this image, and who here's read Giant Tremaine in, like, elementary school? Huh? You know? Yeah, no, don't clap for that. I'll tell you why. Most kids, you get Giant Tremaine, but you also get C.S. Lewis. Oh my God, Roald Dahl, J.R.R. Tolkien, named or other famous mid-20th century British children's author. Ian Fleming, maybe. Dr. David Doak, if you know who that is. Wilbert Audrey, if you know who that is. And yet at the same time, we got Giant Tremaine or April Morning, or Liberty's Kids, which is pretty good. The point being, there's a core contradiction in American history that very few people are willing to deal with. Certainly Lin-Manuel Miranda wasn't really willing to deal with it. And there's this idea, you know, America is freedom land, everywhere else is not freedom land, and Britain is the least freedom land of all. And for that to be true, you have to ignore the 1600s. Like everyone goes, oh yeah, Henry VIII and Elizabeth, and then George III is like the most evil guy ever, and then Churchill. And if you actually think about it, it all kind of falls apart. And like, as a history lover, as an Anglophile, it's like, why do you deal with this? And then you realize, oh, there's history that like the school books just aren't interested in showing. I know from two different, you know, look, teaching is hard work, man. It's not easy. But sometimes missing stuff causes problems. The history teachers have said we hate teaching the colonial period, and I'll tell you why. It's because they're so focused on Henry VIII and Queen Elizabeth. And they don't realize Britain's going into a civil war, man. A civil war, Charles I really trying to be an actual dictator, but then you got Cromwell, who this Paul mentions, who's also a dictator. He's the first real Christian nationalist in the modern sense. So where does that leave us? history is going to be harder to find now. Obviously, you go to archives.gov, Library of Congress, who knows what. Our glorious leaders with Task Force 250 and the 1776 Commission. But go to real places. You go down to Bowling Green. There's Francis Tavern. And you think, oh, that's all patriotic stuff. And there's some of that. But there's also a new permanent exhibit of what are called the Birch Trials. And I talked about how the British opened theaters, whereas Congress closed them. And of course, that's a really big part of the revolution, which is, gosh, what are all the people of color doing? They're not necessarily joining the Continental Army, maybe like Rhode Island. That's it. Most of them, they go into the British lines because all those British commanders, not Burgoyne actually, who wrote this poem, but Lord Dunmore, William Tryon, kind of, and some of the loyalist leaders like Delancey of Delancey Street. This is a show Turn, and this is a really creepy guy, and he's John Gray Simcoe. He's actually a hero up in Canada because he was really pushing for abolitionism. The point being, if you really want to know history, you can't go to the easy stuff. You can't go to the History Channel. You can't even go to PBS or Ken Burns. You can't even go, like I did, to the history section of your bookstore. Well, maybe you can. Because yes, there's the David McCulloughs and the John Meachams and the feel good about our history stuff. But you can also find serious academic work that questions and challenges. You can even do it on TikTok. Because a month ago, I found a scholar that I wish I found him years ago. And his name's Tad Sturmer, if you want to look him up. But if you go down to Francis Tavern, they got great whiskeys, got great beers. But you go to the museum, it costs $10, you see some George Washington stuff, some tavern stuff. But then you go to the second floor. And you've got this exhibit called The Birch Trials. And there, the British Army weren't just reopening theaters, they were also a safe haven, not just for loyalists who were just aristocrats. They also did a lot of emancipating. It's a real thing that happened. A lot of those freed enslaved peoples, they went up to Canada. They went to New Brunswick. They went to the Caribbean. They went to Sierra Leone, next to what would become Liberia, and they'd go to the British Isles themselves. My point is, dealing with the challenges of the world we will be facing, of the 250-year-old system that is kind of collapsing as we speak, look to the strange. Look to what doesn't fit into easy narratives. Look to, hey, let's see what the British were actually doing. Let's see what the native peoples were actually doing. Let's see what the people that called the enslaved people were actually doing. Let's see what people outside our supposed holy sacred freedom land was actually doing. Because that is how we gain a better understanding of our world. And that's how we learn how to build a better one. Thank you. DMman33 on YouTube and TikTok.
Well said, Dave Malinsky, everybody. Give it up for Dave Malinsky. Check him out on YouTube and TikTok. Very nice, very nice. I mean, open mic is for the people, and that we're gonna need more. I mean, now more than ever, it's gonna be important to hear the history, the historical perspective. Give it up one more time for Dave Malinsky, everybody. How nice was that?